Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.
Good evening and welcome to The Local Live. I'm Alina Suriel, and with me here is Local Live reporter Don Julian.
Hi, Alina. Mara Carlin and Jackie Grosha are sick. From here, we are wishing their fast recovery, and hopefully we will have them feeling better by our next show.
It's the first week of March, so we finally get back an hour of sunlight when we turn the clocks forward on Sunday.
Our show tonight is a mix of the old and the new. We'll still be bringing you the news, but instead of our usual roundtable panel discussion, we have one very special guest to answer your questions.
That's right, Don. Mayor Norman Rosenblum is here with us tonight. But first, here's what else we have coming up in tonight's edition of The Local Live.
Why are these parents rallying at Mamaroneck High School? Could your child be affected?
Rob Astorino's in the news again. Find out why you'll be seeing much more of him in the coming months.
Animal lovers will want to stick around to see how this party saved the lives of rescue dogs.
And in sports, we also have our 3 best plays of the whole winter season. Cuts to the private school transportation budget were addressed at a rally at Mamaroneck High School led by parents and community leaders on Tuesday.
We are here together as a community because our Board of Education has turned a deaf ear to hundreds of the constituents that they claim to serve.
After the rally, all the parents and students in attendance sat down at the school board meeting to air their frustrations.
If you need to do something that takes care of a budgetary problem, you can do that with busing, but you have to do it to all of the students, public and private together. Go ahead and do it. You will need a much larger room than this one.
Look at these children who are here tonight. What is it about them that you can look to them and say, you have to spend an hour and a half to get to school?
You have a community that is clearly disagreeing with you. Why is there no response to suggest that you hear and respect the opinion of the community?
As part of the new budget, children in middle school and above in select private schools will be expected to take public transportation to their classes. Should middle and high school children be expected to take public transportation? Is your child going to be affected by the new budget? Send us your tweets and comments to let us know.
Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino officially announced his intent to run in the New York gubernatorial race this Wednesday.
I'm Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino, and I'm announcing my candidacy today for Governor of New York State because I'm tired of listening to the fairy tale that everything is just great when it's just the opposite.
New York State Senator George Latimer was recently in our studios to state his reaction.
What does it say about New York State politics that the 2 leading candidates hail from the same county, our own Westchester?
Well, I think it tells you that Westchester is a pivotal county. When you look at the construct of politics in New York State City is heavily Democratic, upstate New York is heavily Republican, and the suburbs, Westchester, Rockland, and Long Island, are the pivotal portion that can go either way.
The announcement does not come as a surprise, as Astorino's campaign had been anticipated for quite some time before his confirmation. Next up is Mike Witch with In the Media. He's got the scoop on what everyone's talking about online and in other news.
If you want to see some local students performing hit songs from Broadway musicals, why, come to the Emmelyn Theater. So says The Loop. These students are in the Applause Arts program at the Emmelyn. They'll be singing and talking about songs from Oliver, Funny Girl, Chicago, Annie, and others. Tickets are $42. The program is called Reel to Reel, Broadway Goes to Hollywood. The Loop's readers' comments this week also include several about Larchmont's East End Cafe and film director David O. Russell. He hails from our community and was nominated for an Academy Award. The Patch reports the Mamaroneck Shakespeare Players, directed by Mamaroneck High School pace teacher Zachary Moore, opened their week-long 2014 Shakespeare Festival this week. Featuring The Taming of the Shrew and Hamlet, Mamaroneck High School continues its rich tradition of Shakespeare, nearly 100 students involved with the company this year. Performances run through Sunday, March 9th. All performances take place at the Homix Auditorium. Tickets are $8 for students and $12 for adults. The Mamaroneck Review has a story by Ashley Helms about wanting a hotel tax in order to bring in more revenue. That's Mamaroneck Village. They've approved support for a hotel tax at a February 23rd meeting. The state does allow municipalities to pass additional laws to govern themselves, such as a hotel tax, under home rule legislation. But first, it must be approved by the State Assembly and Senate, then signed into law by the governor. The proposal would impose a 3% village hotel occupancy tax on patrons. Village manager Richard Slingerland explains that the village requested approval from the state for the same tax in 2011, but that was vetoed by Governor Cuomo because he didn't want any new taxes. Slingerland says the hotel tax will net roughly $30,000 a year in non-property tax revenue, not a major source of income. And that's some of the local news this week in the media.
Hi, Norm Rosenblum here, speaking for Local Live, one of the greater programs on LMC TV. Everyone wants you to watch it.
Hello, I'm Mike Witch, sitting next to the beautiful Alina Suriel, and welcome to the 12th edition of the Local Live. Tonight, in our place of our usual roundtable discussion of some issue, we have a one-on-one with the mayor of the village of Mamaroneck, Norman Rosenblum. And he's here to answer some questions from you, as well as the Local Live, about issues in our community.
Thank you, Mike and Alina. It's a pleasure to be here. Let's start.
You're quite welcome. I want to issue a big thank you to the mayor for taking his time out of your schedule to do this. So you're in your third term. How's this mayor thing working out for you?
I love it. It's the best thing I've done to help the community I live in. It's great, and I'll keep doing it as long as people keep giving me the best ideas to do it. That's where I get the great ideas from. And it's a great volunteer community.
I know you have a list of things that you want to talk about, and I just want to remind our viewers that you can tweet your questions or comments, you can email them, or you can telephone us. And your feedback is always welcome. So Alina is here to help out with the technology. And as soon as we have someone calling in or tweeting or emailing, she'll let us know. And we'll read them out, right?
Yes, that's what I'm here for.
Okay, so parade coming up.
Absolutely. St. Patrick's Day Parade. We were just here the other night cutting the program, which hopefully they'll watch besides the live program. Again, the St. Patrick's Day Parade will be the third one, March 23rd. Come at 1:15 on Mamaroneck Avenue. We expect to have 75, I think they said, different units coming in, so it'll be another fantastic parade.
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine.
But of course it's going to be shining.
Absolutely. That's the day everyone's Irish and I become Mayor O. Rosenblum.
Will you be dressed in green?
That's right. At least a green tie at minimum.
That's good. Suit. Now, speaking of Mamaroneck Avenue, one of the things that you're happiest about, I guess, is all the development along Mamaroneck Avenue. Restaurants, and there's more coming in.
Absolutely. Actually, if you look right at the end of Mamaroneck Avenue where the regatta is across the street, the old bridal store, that will be knocked down. New retail will be in, and it goes all the way back to Library Lane, where you'll have 6 new condos going up. Right up the street where you had the other store, it's almost complete. That will be retail with a very nice open plaza that goes back right to the Amlin Theater. We're doing TOD study in the final stages. We will be rezoning the area from the railroad station up to approximately Mamaroneck Avenue School to have more retail and residential space.
Why is rezoning required for that?
Because right now it's a mixed bag of zoning, and it can't be developed properly.
We actually have an email whenever you guys are ready, but keep going.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we could take an email now.
Okie doke. So this is from Catherine Desmond, and it is about the clean beach. So we are waiting for it to load on the computer.
Okay. Thank you very much, Catherine, for calling in or emailing us.
Emailing us, yes.
Okay. We have a little slow laptop here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question is, how will the village of Mamaroneck get rid of all the storm and groundwater in its broken sanitary sewer pipes so that the sewage overflows from village pipes will end and we'll have a clean beach at Harbor Island Park?
Well, first I'd like to thank Catherine. She is what I call one of the premier volunteers in the village.
So you know her.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, she worked with her. We opened up, which I have one of my notes, the Marine Education Center, which I'll take the chance. Hope Catherine's happy with that. It's March 29th from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Go down and sign up. But to answer her question, this is an ongoing problem in the village of Mamaroneck. We have almost century-old pipes that have to be replaced in coordination with the upgrading of the sewer treatment plant. And as a matter of fact, Catherine, I believe, was responsible along with other groups that we've invited in, and they found a leaking pipe from Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club, which is replaced and so on. It's an ongoing problem.
Now,
Also with illegal hookups and so on.
Do we pay for that ourselves, or is that done? You said it's in cooperation with, or it's going along with the upgrade of the sewage treatment plant.
If it's private property, or like the Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club, they pay for it. Most of the other sewers, the village of Mamaroneck is responsible for it. And that's what we look to do, and replace it. We had an ongoing program, and you do it. It's very important. It's part of the national problem, is the infrastructure is so old that you have to do it. Now, the village of Mamaroneck, for many years, you couldn't even swim in the beach. They put up the gun, the boom, and so on. But it's part and parcel of a whole program for the environment. It's sustainability of the village of Mamaroneck.
And the river contributes to that pollution, too, because when it rains, we get things that get flushed into the river, and then the river empties out into the harbor.
Oh, absolutely. There are, we unfortunately receive runoff from the rivers from about 32 to 34 square miles from all the way up. So you'll get salt, you get fertilizers and so on swept in.
You get
You'll get animal
feces,
feces,
like that,
raccoons, geese, and so on, not to bring up another hot subject, but it's part and parcel of the whole thing. There's not one thing you can do that's going to cure it. So you have to do, a menu effect. But you have to be very cognizant of it, and you have to take a very strong and forward action to do it. And thankfully, we have someone like Catherine and other groups that do come in and actually help the village.
So to pursue Catherine's question, is there anything concrete that you can announce that's in process, other than our being hyper aware of it? You mentioned, for instance, that the village does the village have a program, I think I heard, where you can't transfer property unless you can prove that your rainwater doesn't go into the sewer
Right, it's a
line?
legal hookup. When you sell your house, you have to get a plumber verify the fact that you do not have an illegal hookup, which is part and parcel of, again, how you affect it, the pollution. So it's an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
I think we've attacked it. We do fairly well. Unfortunately, sometimes the counts are very high. And just pragmatically, if it rains hard enough, fast enough, the sewer treatment plant can't handle it, and it'll end up closing the beach down for a day or two. But generally, the counts that we've gotten from the Westchester County themselves will go down.
We actually also have a caller who is ready for us as well. Are you guys ready for a caller?
Go right ahead.
Sure.
Okie doke. So.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Hi.
I had a call from the Shore Acres area, and we were wondering if it would ever be possible to put a pool down at Harbor Island.
Actually, that's a great question.
Please let me thank you from the Village of Mamaroneck. Please let me thank you for the service you have performed for our community.
Thank you. Appreciate it. To answer the question, on a weekly basis, I get inquiries and meetings set up to develop in the Village of Mamaroneck. Village of Mamaroneck is probably the #1 destination place in Westchester County. As you can note, you can't find a parking space, and we have a lot of, besides the restaurants, other things. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, someone came in and was interested and wanted to build a pool in the industrial area. And we started speaking, and I said, well, would you consider building a pool in Harbor Island? Obviously, no cost to the Village of Mamaroneck. We are going towards that. I don't know if it'll happen, but I'm very optimistic. There is potential. And with the new technology, the interesting part is it does not have to be an in-ground pool. They can put up an Olympic-sized pool and take it down on a yearly basis. So the concept would be, while they would be using it, an Olympic-sized pool to train potential Olympic swimmers, the Village of Mamaroneck residents would also be use it during the day. And of course, no cost to the village, which is great. So the taxpayers benefit. It would be, I think it would be a great coup for the Village of Mamaroneck to have their own pool in Harbor Island.
At what point do the trustees have to weigh in on this? We're not there yet.
No, absolutely not. Well, it will go into, you get to a certain point, then the trustees obviously would have to okay it and do that, because you're talking about a contract, you're talking about negotiations, what's involved in that, and how we would do it.
Would you be soliciting public comment before that?
Oh, absolutely. Anything you do basically at a board meeting, as we noted before.
So sorry, I just wanted to say thank you to our caller for that call.
Thank you again for your wonderful service to this community. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good.
And thank you for calling. But you always want as much input as possible. I mean, I can think I have the greatest idea, or the board members have the greatest idea. But if someone comes in, and even if they disagree with you, they may have an aspect that you can amend or change your position and still go forward. So it's just common sense. This is a democracy.
Yes, yes.
Allegedly.
Democracy of Mamaroneck. So we also have another email from Ronnie, and it is about the LWRP, which is a very hot topic lately in Mamaroneck. So it says, question, given last week's large public outcry of dissatisfaction from residents and a Department of State representative on the lack of required community involvement / decision-making resulting in the consultant's proposed LWRP update, what are your specific plans to address these requirements, ensuring communication, dialogue occurs so that there is community involvement, consensus, and buy-in? So how are you going to involve the community?
Well, very specifically, unfortunately, for that subject, I was in Brazil on business. However, I found...
Can we just tell people who don't know what those initials stand for?
Yeah, Local Waterfront Revitalization Program.
Okay.
And the basic purpose is to maintain a marine-oriented type waterfront where you keep the clubs and the boat yards. That's what it really came about. Actually, when I was a trustee in 1980 to 82, we started looking at that problem when they built Indian Cove.
It was written in 1984.
But I found those comments to be extremely disingenuous. I created something called the LWRP committee to investigate it. There were representatives from all the land use boards, including the Committee for the Environment. There were public meetings throughout the whole time. I find that the person who came to represent the Department of State accepted comments from the Harbor Coastal Zone Management Chairman, which I find also not to be true. It's completely open, it's completely transparent. I will be making further statements at the Board of Trustees meeting. And to show the fact is that we sent a previous proposal, an initial proposal to the Department of State, and the Department of State made comments back, and they had no problem with it at all. So it wasn't something that was going to be turned down. And it is open and remain open. The next step will be on March 31st. The committee turned over their final document to the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees now owns the document. Board of Trustees will first look at it, investigate, and ask questions. The next step would be to send it back to the state. The state would make more comments, send it back for us to look at, and there would be more public comment and so on. And I would note that the irony here is the person, Charlie McCaffrey, wrote the first LWRP for the Village of Mamaroneck. We were the first in New York State. The same person is our consultant and is writing it now. And this is not a rewrite. This is an update to maintain and be level with the current New York State requirements. And the only amendments you make and changes is to fit in the Village of Mamaroneck requirements, and that's it. But this is an open process. It will go along, and I will not allow it, the process that's been going on for 2 or 3 years and spending over $100,000 to be hijacked or captured by a small group that may or may not have their own personal agendas. It may sound controversial, but it's exactly what I think. And I think the only thing that the mayor and Board of Trustees has to do with what's best for the Village of Mamaroneck, not someone who works in the industry or something else.
Okay. So we have another email from Harriet Feldman, and she says, on August 2nd of last summer, yourself and village officials received an email from Save the Sound alerting you of a serious concern because they had both visual and laboratory results of fecal coliform and E. coli numbers at one of their testing sites. When the village investigated the complaint on August 12th, they found a break in a forced main sewer line that had been pumping raw sewage into the sound for 10 days. Oh dear. Do you feel that this was an appropriate response to this complaint?
That's exactly what we talked about before with the private sewage line out of Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club. There are certainly emails going back and forth that show the Village of Mamaroneck reacted right away. The village engineer was down there, and within 24 to 48 hours, not only was the property notified, but the process was fixed, and that sewer, actually, the entire sewer now is looking at to be replaced. So the village reacted exactly how it's supposed to be, just what it did.
So it was appropriate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we invited Save the Sound to come to the Village of Mamaroneck, and Catherine was actually part of that too. So it's a whole circle, keeps coming back. If it wasn't for the volunteers, the village would not be as in the great place as it is.
The village is very involved in
Yeah.
Yes.
it's. I always like that about it, actually.
And of course, Harbor Island and the water is the gem of the village of Mamaroneck. I mean,
Absolutely.
you've got to protect that,
Right.
but you've also got to balance it out with development. I mean, the people who want to see development, the people who want to see preservation.
Absolutely. The zoning, the existing zoning now does protect the shoreline of the Village of Mamaroneck. We certainly don't want to look like Greenwich, Connecticut, that at one time had boat yards and now all condos and so on. The trick for any municipality, as you know, we noted before at Astorino when he was talking about the economy of New York State and so on, and people are leaving. We're the highest taxed area in the country. And most of that tax, whether it be your school tax, which is your highest, or the Village of Mamaroneck tax, which we control, is a real estate-based tax. So what you have to do is look for other revenue that's not real estate-based tax, such as either parking meters and so on. The problem is, how do you keep your zoning and your development so you continue to grow? Because if you don't grow, you will die from atrophy, and you will not maintain your funding, but without changing the character of the Village of Mamaroneck. And it's exactly what the Village of Mamaroneck is doing, whether it be a TOD study. We obviously are having new building all the time in the Village of Mamaroneck, and it is all within the existing zoning so as not to change the character of the village. I'm third generation. I plan on living here for however long it's going to be, but I like the village the way it is, and we will continue it to be that way.
And you talked to me earlier about a curveball that you just got from the legislature about the tax cap. You can only raise taxes 1.66.
1.66.
Yeah.
When Cuomo knocked it down from 2%.
Oh,
Now,
Cuomo, not the legislature.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have another email from Melissa Santiago. As a Republican local leader, what is your opinion about not having a Republican candidate running for mayor in Larchmont?
Is she right? Are you a Republican local
well,
leader?
actually, I am a registered non-affiliate.
Oh, okay.
I have no input as far as who runs in the Village of Mamaroneck, the town of Mamaroneck, or Larchmont, but I will repeat a statement I made in a mildly controversial event that just happened when they appointed Tom Murphy to the town of Mamaroneck. It's not so much the person that's appointed, even how it's done. What I find in both Larchmont and the town versus the Village of Mamaroneck is there are always people running against each other in the Village of Mamaroneck, which is the basis of the democratic process. So you can have discussion back and forth. No different than these emails coming in. But when you were in the town of Mamaroneck and Larchmont, people run unopposed. I think it's sad. It's a description of the apathy that's there, and the reason why only 4 out of 10 people vote. So remember, those 4 people are telling 6 other people how to live. It's not a good idea.
We're almost out of time for this segment, so folks, if you have a email or a phone call, make it now. Send it in now.
Let us know.
Do we have something
Time's
else?
going by. I have a lot of stuff I'd like to throw out.
I know. Well, let's take something from your list. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, the Village of Mamaroneck, as we noted before, you got Bullseye Glass just moved into Village on Hoyt Avenue. That's an international company. Halftime Beer, the world's largest distributors here. The new buildings we mentioned. We have all types of volunteers, including kids in high school. Rachel Cohn has just been awarded a newly created J.R. Testone Public Health Award for her SAFE program, which is stuffed animals for children from emergencies. It's great.
Wow. What school is she in?
Rhinebeck High School. I believe she's a junior.
Congratulations.
The flood mitigations going forward, Army Corps of Engineers has been directed to, we decided which action we want to take, and hopefully within the next couple of years we will have an effect up to 6 feet and over 85 to 90% of all sites in the Village of Mamaroneck. In fact, the first 2 homes are being raised up with federal funds for that. TOD study is going ahead.
TOD is Department of...
No, that's the Transit-Oriented Development. Okay.
I knew I got
And
that
another exciting thing, besides that, is this summer, on September 20th, We're going to have the Southern Westchester Food and Wine Festival in Harbor Island. We can have cook-offs and barbecues and wine tasting and so on, plus a concert. Free.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Free, yes. Another great event in the village.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Besides the friendly village, we're becoming the food-friendly village.
Absolutely.
I'm always glad to
Not
hear
good
that.
for my diet, but it's very good.
I know that problem.
So we have another question on email. So this is from Brian Kerr from in Mamaroneck, New York. And he says, my question for tonight's episode of the Local Live is there an update on the dissolution of the town of Rye?
Yes, actually.
Rhinebeck.
Well, he says the
town
town
of Rye. I'm sorry,
Yes,
you're
the
right.
Town of Rye.
Rye.
You're right.
The dissolution of Town of Rye, the Village of Mamaroneck, at my behest, just sent a letter to the, I'm also a member of the dissolution committee, that as it's set up now, that we cannot support the continuing dissolution of Town of Rye because it's not advantageous to the Rye Neck section of the Village of Mamaroneck, which is part of the Town of Rye. As it stands now, the town of, Rye Brook would become a town, Portchester would become a town, Rye Neck would become a paper town, and I find it politically disadvantaged for the people that represented there, and also tax-wise, it would be a disaster. If they were annexed by the town of Mamaroneck, your taxes would shoot high. I think the best thing, and I will note, is that the Village of Mamaroneck is the strongest by itself. The Village of Mamaroneck, that was voted on before, should become coterminous. It would cost the village nothing. As a matter of fact, we would get increased mortgage taxes, and we would get an increased share of the sales tax. We have a police department, DPW, we have a court, we have an assessor. We can just become town village of Mamaroneck Harbor, whatever you want to do it right away. The reason it was always voted down is it had to pass in both towns. It always passed in the town of Rye, but didn't pass in the town of Mamaroneck. There is a group now in Village of Larchmont that is also interested. So now you're talking about 70% of the vote in the town of Mamaroneck. So I believe it could pass. So that's something to look at seriously.
That is interesting. So we actually have another caller. Are you ready for a caller?
Absolutely.
I love
Okay,
the
this will be our
callers.
last call here. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Rosenblum. My name is Svetlana Wasserman, and my question is, I'd like to know your position on the Mamaroneck Board of Ed's plan to stop providing yellow school buses to children attending religious and independent schools, and instead send them to school on public transportation. I know that this decision is not in your jurisdiction, but since it does affect so many of the constituents that you represent, could you please tell us your views?
Actually, I don't know all the specifics, but I will tell you I've gotten several emails from not only the town of Mamaroneck Village, but even Larchmont. We've discussed this before. I think, unfortunately, there's no proper answer to it. It's understandable, as we talked before, with the tax cap. The schools are in a very dire strait, and I don't believe they should be cutting out programs to meet their budget, such as schools and arts and so on. It's just as important as English and math. But on the flip side, you have to balance it out against the safety of the children. I don't have all the specifics, but you should certainly look at the safety of the children in regards to how much money you're saving, and perhaps there's room for negotiation in both places. And that's really what it comes down to. Unfortunately, the Village of Mamaroneck does not have any input, nor does the town government or Larchmont. It comes under the purview of the Board of Education, and their bosses are the State Board of Education.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Svetlana.
But one
Sorry.
could argue that their bosses are the residents who voted them in, because they are all voted in.
You
as-
hit it
on
right on
board.
the head. If we do anything else, it goes back to the apathy. The real bosses are the electorate. And if there's nothing like, I remember in history, I was a history minor and a poli-sci major, there were a group of individuals called college students that actually changed the direction of the Vietnam War because they got together. If you get together strong enough and enough, you can change direction of any elected, especially in a democracy.
Well, on that note, thank you so much. We have to wrap it up. The time just sped by. I hope you'll come back.
Anytime.
Okay.
You know I keep talking.
It was
Special
delightful. It was delightful to give the mayor a on-camera shot here on Local Live, and thank you all for writing in and calling and tweeting. We want to give a big thank you again to the mayor.
Thank you. And if you have other further emails or questions, please feel free. nrosenblum@vomy.org.
Okay, and if anybody out there has an idea for a roundtable discussion, your feedback is always welcome. Please let us know at the Local Live on Twitter.
I'm Amerinex, I'm Carly Rose, and you are watching The Local Live.
Last Friday, the night belonged to the cats and dogs. Pet Rescue held a fundraiser gala honoring the animals they helped find homes. But they also celebrated finding a home of their own. Don Julian was there, and here is the story.
Gourmet dinner, wine, beer, and raffle prizes. Nothing is too good for man's best friend, especially when it comes to their well-being. Pet Rescue is celebrating its 11th annual gala fundraiser along with 400 animal lovers at the VIP Country Club in New Rochelle, New York. Every good fundraiser needs an auction with goodies. Pet Rescue is featuring amazing prizes for their silent auction, each of which were donated.
We have an amazing pool to get our auction prizes from because we have years of adopters, and some of them are from some amazing companies like Oscar de la Renta or Kate Spade or Disney, or we have an adopter from the cast of Mamma Mia, and every year after year, I call them and they say, sure, sure, sure.
This fundraiser is a little different from the organization's last. Pet Rescue is also celebrating having their own facility for the first time in their 32-year history of fostering homeless cats and dogs. One couple, honored for their volunteer work, explains why this is so important.
Pet Rescue was operating out of a separate series of facilities that were all inadequate for their needs. This gives them a facility that has all the approvals in place that they need, and they just have to rebuild and repair some things that the prior owners had let go.
It will just help us help more animals more efficiently, and we won't have to look for boarding or outside places if we want to help more animals and don't have enough foster homes.
Volunteers didn't let the festivities of the evening distract them from why they joined Pet Rescue in the first place. How was that experience for you being one of the foster homes?
Wonderful, very rewarding.
So what motivates you or has continued to motivate you to volunteer?
How can I not? When we see these animals that need help and homes, and they're wonderful and loving and smart, and they deserve it.
If you weren't an animal lover before, you certainly fell in love with them by the end of the evening. This is Don Julian reporting for the Local Live, signing off. The winter sports season has come and gone, and the LMC varsity sports cameras have been capturing hours upon hours of the local action. From countless hours down to 2 minutes, here are the top 3 plays of the 2013 to 2014 winter season, compiled by LMC sports producer Rob Moretti.
Stick, he shoots and he scores! Goal number 2 for James Torrey. The Marinette leads 2-1 off the post. Got the pass from Ewald and he put it home.
Has a 15 on the shot. Wide open 3 for Sevillanes. True. Rex almost attempted the 3. Back to Cashion. That's good.
5-point game, 2 possession.
Maybe they're doing a little offense-defense too, possibly. Cashion's 3 is good!
Assisted by Sevillanes.
They can get the lead back for the first time since the first quarter. It's early in the first quarter. Pinnell from long range. Swish!
Inside, Cascio dishes it out to Pinnell, who banks the 3. And we are tied up at 39.
Great pass.
Franks puts up a 3. Buckets! It's raining 3s now for Wynette. Green finds Arula, 2 seconds and 1. Arula from long range. Puts it in! That's a great number 21.
Make sure you tune in to LMC TV for your favorite spring sports starting in the end of March.
Hi.
Hi.
I love your outfit.
I love your outfit.
Thank you.
We're on the local live here at the Westchester Tattoo Convention. And you are?
I'm Catherine.
Hi, Catherine. This is Jerry here reporting live from the local live.
That concludes this week's edition of The Local Live.
At The Local Live, we are always here to bring you the local news and to get you involved with your community.
That's true, Don. If you or someone you know would like to send us a story or be involved with our team, send us a tweet at The Local Live or visit us online at lmc-tv.org/thelocallive. Bye-bye
Goodbye.
and good night.
Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.